What's up, you guys? Brian Felder here with another episode of The Adventures of an Entrepreneur, where we bring on successful entrepreneurs that talk about their successes, their challenges, and we get tips and tricks and strategies of how they've built their business. So whether you work for someone and think about starting your own business, whether you're an entrepreneur and you run a business, or whether you run multiple businesses, strap in, get ready. I'm super excited to bring Leigh on the show. So please make sure you like and you hit the button subscribe, but we're ready to rock. Leigh, how you doing?
I'm good, Brian. How are you?
I am amazing. How long have we known each other?
We're just trying to figure that out. I think it has to be at least 10 years, maybe longer.
I think it's longer than
It
that.
probably is.
It's at least, I would say, you've been in the business how long?
18 years.
And I've been in 22 years next month, which is crazy. I was going to say like 12 or 15 years, which is amazing. But tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up? What do you do? And where are you from? Like all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, I actually grew up in Southern Virginia, so in the Newport News Peninsula area.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I did. A lot of military influence there. Grew up, born in Newport News and then went to high school in Yorktown. So always loved being by the water, even though it wasn't an ocean. It was the York River. Okay. But to us, there was a beach and it counted in your high school. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
So love the water, love living close to it. And was there, until 94. No, I take that back. Anyway, I've been up here a long time. I don't even remember what year I came up here. It was 94 but I ended up relocating somewhere else, but all good. I worked with Marriott, was my first real job out of college. Never left for 15 years.
So awesome.
Which was amazing.
Okay.
Because it was a wonderful opportunity to get to do what you do and just be tapped on the shoulder to be asked to do the next thing.
What did you do at Marriott?
Well, I started out, honestly, as a desk clerk in college, and then I just progressed. Supervisor, I was a front desk manager before I could legally drink. Ended up coming to the D.C. area and working in operations. So basically hotel management, that was kind of the first part of the Marriott career. And then I took a little hiatus and then came back to work at corporate headquarters and then training department. So that was
hospitality.
Hospitality, absolutely.
You know, it's funny. So Molly goes to CNU in Newport News.
Oh, really?
One of my girls. I have twin girls.
Okay.
And one of them loves Newport. So we go down to Newport. I love Newport News.
So I went to Christopher Newport before it was a university. We just called it Shoe Lane U. It was a commuter college, Brian. It was that many years ago.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So what brought you up to the Northern Virginia market, D.C. market, was Marriott?
Marriott, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then how did you transition?
Well, so we had a 3-year detour, that's what I call it, to California. So after 9/11, basically my husband had a big promotion to Marriott. Honestly, a position was created for him. And then summarily, that's the uncreated. Basically, after 9/11, all the soft skills training was cut within Marriott, and he was a director of training for executive stay. So it was a long-term stay type of division that they had recently taken over.
Yeah.
So, after 9/11, there was just so much uncertainty in this area here. So we ended up going to California, where he's actually from. So I call it my 3-year detour. I was still working for Marriott. I had an alternative work agreement. So it was a sweet gig, almost like a contractor, where I kept my benefits. But if I worked one day, that's fine. If I worked for 3 weeks, it was fine. I was a training manager. Very grateful for that. And I suggested it after the birth of my first child.
Okay.
Kept that. So we were there for 3 years and then decided to come back to this area. This is 2005. And my introduction to staging was experiencing it firsthand. I had someone else stage my home and didn't understand the industry, never heard of it. This is before HGTV, so it was an eye-opener for me. And I was in a situation in my life where it was just one of those seeds that's planted.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite the entrepreneurial seizure that you hear about, but it was, I'm going to do this. I don't know how, and I don't know when, but I'm going to do this.
So you got exposure to a business or a service that you had never experienced before, never heard of before.
Never heard of.
And then you're like, you know what? That's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and figure this out at some point.
Yes.
Don't know when, don't know how.
Yep.
But I'm going to figure this out.
Yes.
And so what made you stage the house?
Well, honestly, so you'll find this interesting. So you mean when we sold it in California?
Yeah.
So the realtor came in and said, I have a home inspector and I have a home stager, and that is all the context that she provided me. There was no why, there was no anything. This is what we're going to do. This is the method and the process for selling your home. And because we trusted her process and didn't question. I went, okay. But that's how it evolved.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was very interesting. But I was the one in my circle of friends that everybody came to pick a color, help me pick a couch. I joke that I come from a long line of crafty women.
That's cool.
My mother had it, my grandmother had it. It was just unchanneled, and I knew that I didn't want to, at that stage of my life, to go back for a 4-year degree.
This is really cool.
And I didn't think that there was a creative option within any sort of design element for interiors that was available to me until staging presented itself. And here's the kicker, Brian. As we were relocating back here to Virginia, again, this is 2005, there was an article in the Southwest magazine about the creator of home staging. It was like
What?
the light shone down. Yep.
Super coincidental.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's when you launched?
Well, at that point, I had a 4-year-old and a 4-month-old. So I did investigate it as we were purchasing a house and kind of getting settled. And the agent that sold us our house here represented us, actually. I talked to her about whether or not staging was prevalent here, because it really began in California, slowly worked its way east. And she talked to me about it. 2 years later, so this is 2007, she called and said, I'm taking the staging class. You should do it with me. And I couldn't make that one work, but about 3 months later, I did it. And I started my business when my youngest was 2, and he's 20 now.
What's the name of the business?
Staged by Design.
And why did you name it Staged by Design?
It just kind of came to me, and I was just in it. I don't know. I thought it's meant to be. It's divine intervention. I just lost my mom. I'm like, it's my mom whisper in my ear, to be honest. Or it was just so basic and easy, and I couldn't tell the difference. And I thought that's going to be my name.
And so bring us up to speed. Where do you serve?
We serve all of Northern Virginia.
All Northern Virginia. And what would you say, so your clientele is more agents? Is it more home sellers? Like, where does the business come from?
Predominantly real estate agents. They're our greatest source of referrals or repeat referrals. We do work directly with homeowners and probably have 15 to 20% of sellers that come to us organically before they've chosen their real estate agent, before they've decided to list their house, or they know something needs to be done, but they just don't know where to start. Yeah. And so they call us first, and we help them line up all the individuals that are present in that process and needed, including real estate agents, to figure out how they work through it.
So it's interesting because, as we talk, think about the audience that people are like, think about starting their own business and they're maybe a little nervous, or maybe they're like, I don't know if I have the ability to do it, or I don't know if I have the funds, or I don't know if I have the wherewithal, or like where to even begin. And you were like, you know what? I have something, this seed has been planted. It has been something that has drawn me to it, this staging service. And you had an opportunity to go to a class because you got introduced to the class by your realtor. And you acted upon it. And I think a lot of people, they have really good ideas, or they have the interest to be able to start their own business or become entrepreneur, but you pulled the trigger. Like, what was that? 3 months later, I'm pulling the trigger, I'm going to class. What caused you to do that 3 months later? Why not 6 months later? Why not? What caused it?
It just was, why wait? At this point, it was like, I've waited. Why wait? And honestly, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, if you want to know the honest to God's truth. I mean, we have this idea of we're going to be entrepreneurs, we're going to start our business. And I think for all of us, there is certainly some intention, there's some business plans, there's some mission statement, there's some core values, but there's some things that just organically evolve.
For sure.
And I knew I wanted to do it. And I also knew, though, I had small children, and life balance was important to me. So there's a certain part of getting into this business that I didn't want it to encompass my whole life, and I still needed to be there for my family. I mean, even more interestingly, I think it was in the first 2 years of having our own business, my husband quit his job and started his own business. So we're doubly crazy. So no stress there whatsoever. But it just was something that I wanted to really try. And I feel like I always treated it like a legitimate business from day one. First house I staged, I had my little logo shirt, I had my rolling cart, I mean, with all of my tools and my little things. I wanted to be legit, even if I'd staged 0 houses.